The subcommittee is meeting today to receive testimony on efforts to ensure the protection of emergency response providers in the event of a chemical, biological, radiological, or nuclear attack. I now recognize myself for an opening statement. This hearing is the third in a series held by the subcommittee on the vital issue of medical countermeasures. The subcommittee has received testimony on challenges in the research, development, and acquisition of medical countermeasures, and all plans and strategies to distribute and dispense diagnostics, medications, and other life-saving equipment. Today, we continue this discussion with a focus on how we protect those who protect the public in the event of a chemical, biological, radiological, or nuclear attack or emergency. As noted by the WMD Commission, the threat of WMD terrorism remains. And the better we prepare, the more we reduce the risk. I know everyone agrees. Medical countermeasures are but one component that allows us to do so, in that they are such a critical piece of they deserve special attention as far as I'm concerned. It's a critical piece of the puzzle. As we learned at our last hearing, there are a number of dispensing methods under consideration. We had two distinguished panels of witnesses here today to help us further assess these plans and strategies at the federal, state, and local levels, and to discuss how best to protect emergency response providers and their families through mechanisms such as voluntary pre-event vaccination and the pre-deployment of med kits. The provision of such assets to targeted populations is not without precedence. The United States Postal Service has a program well underway in several cities to deliver medical supplies to the public in the event of a biological emergency. As a condition of participation, the Postal Service required that the letter carriers themselves and their families be provided with antibiotic med kits in advance in order to ensure their own protection. Kits and a program were then developed with the FDA backing, of course, to achieve this. Yet the law enforcement members that will escort the letter carriers from home to home do not yet have the same option. The Assistant Secretary for Preparedness and Response at HHS is working with the FDA to rectify this, and I look forward to hearing from Mr. Gabriel on the progress toward this important issue. Another priority that we have heard from the first responder community is its desire for access to anthrax vaccine. Given the millions of doses in the national stockpile that annually expire and are then discarded, it would seem entirely reasonable to make these supplies available to first responders prior to their expiration. That would benefit, of course, the responders who respond frequently to white powder incidents that may someday turn out to be the real thing. And it would certainly work for those of us who do not want to see federal resources wasted. I look forward to hearing from Dr. Polk and from our second panel and how the pilot is proceeding and what needs to happen to make it successful. I also think that we should look beyond the anthrax threat and have a frank discussion about what other measures, if any, should be taken with regard to other biological, chemical, and radiological threats. It is in all of our interests to ensure that our protectors are protected and that their families are protected and that they are able to come to work and do their jobs when duty calls. That will keep us all safer and more secure. Our previous hearings in this series have highlighted the challenges we face in developing countermeasures and getting them to the people who need them. First and foremost in our minds should be our first responders, and I look forward to discussing this with all of you today, how we can make this endeavor a success. Before I recognize our ranking member, I ask unanimous consent to enter a statement from the National Association of Sheriffs into the record. Without objection, so ordered. I now recognize the Ranking Member, Ms. Richardson from California, for any statement she may want to make. Thank you.